Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram. So in the last class, we were studying the 108th verse of the Vivekachudamani, where we found that Shankaracharya is describing the various expressions of the Sattva aspect of the Maya. That, as we told, the Maya has three aspects, three Gunatmika Maya, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. The Rajas and the Tamas has been described previously. And while describing Sattva, he mentioned that it's to attain the Sattvic qualities in life is a gradual process. When we start developing the Sattvic qualities, it is at the beginning tainted with Rajas. It's not at the very beginning we can develop that Vishuddha Sattva. The Sattva is tainted with Rajasikata. What it speaks of? The Sattva speaks of the calmness, the tranquility. But to attain the tranquility at the beginning, we need some effort. And that effort speaks of Rajas. A common example which we gave, that the tamas is just like the car being parked on the carport or in your garage. Now you start the car, you accelerate. That speaks of Rajas, a lot of activity. And when you're already on the road and you have attained the desired speed, then again you will just release the accelerator and you will find the car is just going at a speed, at the desired speed, without any effort as such. You're not giving any effort. It has already gathered the speed and now you leave the accelerator. So it is as if because of its inertia of motion, it is moving without any effort. So that's why Swamiji, as we mentioned, always is to say that the opposite poles look alike. The most of the time, Tamasikata comes in the garb of Sattva. Why the opposite poles look alike? As Swamiji gives this example, that as we cannot see the infrared light, which is a very low frequency light, similarly, we cannot see the ultraviolet light, which is a very high frequency light. It's so high frequency that it causes skin cancer. It's penetrating. The heat which we feel when we go out is not because of the Vibgeo. It's because of the ultraviolet light that is very intense. That's why we all use that UV protection. But that is not visible. Similarly, the infrared light is not visible. The opposite poles look alike. Both are invisible to me, but one is of very low intensity and is a very high intensity. Similarly, it is true with this sound. The ultrasonic sound, which is above 20,000 hertz, is not audible. And again, the infrasonic sound, which is below 20 hertz. So it is 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. That's the range which the human ear can hear. That's audible for us. So below 20 hertz, I cannot hear. Above 20,000 hertz, I cannot hear. But that 20,000 hertz, you will find a supersonic plane. They're not supposed to fly over the residential area, because it has been found that the supersonic sound, though it is not audible, but it can create a tremendous frequency in the glass panes and all, and you will find at your house, the glass panes break. So they are not allowed to pass over the residential area. So opposite poles look alike. Similarly, there is no effort in tamas. It is a state of inertia. And again, the state of sattva, there is no effort. You are in a state of tranquility. Both appears to be effortless, but through rajas, through activity, we have entered into the state of sattva. As in the modern psychology, we can say that sattva is just like a state of flow. But till I attain that state of flow, when I attain that state of flow, when my skills meet the challenges, then I attain the state of flow. When my skills are yet to meet the challenges, there's a question of effort. A lot of effort is there. So rajas is still there, though I have developed some sattvic quality, but a lot of effort is there. That we find that to meditate, how much effort is required. The mind is always roaming around. I have to bring through resolution back again and again to my object of meditation. So that effort is required at the beginning. At the very beginning, I cannot have that Vishuddha Sattva. But though that effort is required, you will find already all the positive qualities start manifesting through our life. And when those positive qualities start manifesting through our life, what are those qualities? We find, just as in the modern positive psychology, they accept the fact, they acknowledge that they have made a list of all the positive qualities. From where they got it? From all the perennial sources, from all the the religious traditions of all the various religions, not only of any particular religion. So they studied them vividly, and from there they collected and they found these are the things which are common. And the 24 character strengths they speak of in the modern psychology. You will find the similar thing Shankaracharya has done, while enunciating all the positive traits which we develop as we develop more and more sattvic qualities, though at the beginning it is tainted with rajas. And what are all those which he has collected from the various scriptures? So that is indicated in the 108th verse. So let us read it. A part of it we of course have discussed in the last class. The remaining portion we will take up today. So what is Misrasya Sattvasya? The Sattva which is mixed with Rajas, that is the Misra Sattva. Bhavanti Dharma. What are those dharma? What are the characteristics? Bhavanti. What are the characteristics that manifests when this Misra Sattva you start inculcating in your life? Amanita Adya. Amanita Adya. So in Bhagavad Gita, we have in the 13th chapter, we will find the 20 qualities has been spoken of from the 8th to the 12th verse, which starts with Amanitvam, Adambhitvam, and the last class we were describing. So all those qualities, 20 qualities, that's the thing first Shankaracharya is indicating that we start developing when we start developing the sattvic qualities. Amanita Adya, Niyama, Yama Adya. This too again he has collected from the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. There are 5 Yama and the 5 Niyamas. So this Niyama, Yama, Adya. So we described the Niyamas in the last class. We described the Yamas. The Yamas Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. And then the Niyamas, Shaucha, Santosha, Swadhyaya, Tapa, Ishvara Pranidhana. So these are all included in this Misra Sattva as a manifestation of the Misra Sattva. Then what else? Shraddha cha, Bhakti cha, Mumukshutta cha. The Shraddha. We develop this faith in the words of the scriptures and in the words of the spiritually illumined soul. Faith in the words of the scripture, faith in the words of Guru is Shraddha. Bhakti, devotion. Mumukshutta, yearning. And then last is the Daivi Sampatti. Daivi cha Sampatti, Asat Nivritti. Daivi Sampatti again he's taking from the Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, we find it's in the 16th chapter. This Daiva, this Daiva and Asura Sampatti Yoga, that's the chapter in which the chapter starts with the Daivi Sampat. There are 26 such qualities. In the first 3 verses, they have been described. So those all Shankaracharya is our Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya is including in this Mishra Sattva. And the last is that the quality which has been spoken of is asat nivritti, that you get rid of your identification with the asat, that which is not true. This is the body-mind complex, or this projection to the world, everything is asat. So that stops, the identification stops. You become identified with your real nature. So these are all the qualities which we start developing as we develop more and more sattvic qualities in our life. So in the last class, we described in details the 20 qualities that has been described in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita from the 8th to the 12th verse, which comes under the phrase Amanita Adya. And then Niyama Yama Adya, of which the yamas also we covered in the last class. The 5 yamas which has been spoken of in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. The Patanjali Yoga Sutra speaks of 8 limbs, 8 limbs of yoga, that we have to follow those 8 limbs, of which the first 2 are the yama and the niyama. They together constitute 10 practices. So this yama 5 and niyama another 5. So the yama is ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. There's non-violence, truthfulness, non-stealing, continence, and non-acceptance. So these are the qualities which we were describing in the last class. So today we will start from the niyama. What are the niyamas? Shaucha, santosha, swadhyaya, tapa, ishvara pranidhana. So shaucha means cleanliness. The cleanliness doesn't mean only the external cleanliness. It means the cleanliness of the mind, keeping the mind always pure. As we find in Bible, Jesus one saying is there. What is that? Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Swami Vivekananda, when he was in the West, when he was delivering lectures, so in some of the contexts he have mentioned a very interesting thing, that if it so happens that all the religions gets destroyed in the world, all the religious tradition gets destroyed, all the text gets destroyed, and somehow this only one sentence of Jesus survives. That what? Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. That one sentence is sufficient for all the various traditions again to evolve, because that is the be-all and end-all of our spiritual evolution, the purity. The purity is not only the external purity, shaucha. It speaks of the cleanliness of the mind. That is more important. The external cleanliness it serves the purpose of internal pureness. You will find if you are very tidy, keeping everything clean, then your mind, it reflects the tidiness of your mind. Unless your mind is disciplined, you will find in your external world, the way you deal with your day-to-day dealings, all the life dealings, it cannot be something very tidy. Just a very funny incident I can just relate in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, that when the devotees used to come to meet him, they will enter his room and just they will say that we have come here to be instructed in spirituality. And Sri Ramakrishna, what he will do, immediately will get up and go out of his room to find how they have kept their shoes, their umbrella, and other things. Because in India, you will find as a tradition that the umbrella, the shoes, you keep outside your house and then you enter. So he will just go out to see how you have kept the shoes. If he finds the shoes have been kept nicely, that both the pairs are together and the umbrella is also kept near the shoes, he knew that this man has a very disciplined mind. If he finds that one shoe is lying in one corner, the other shoe is in some other place, the umbrella is just as he has thrown, he has not kept it properly. So he will come back and say, just see, this temple is wonderful. It's a wonderful piece of architecture. And there are so many beautiful gardens. You better go around and see the gardens and see the architecture of this beautiful temple. he would never give any instruction. Why? Just by seeing the external tidiness, he would realize the tidiness of the mind. If we are not disciplined, we can never keep the things in a nice order. So whenever we enter in a house, so that's the sign. If you see that everything is tidy, you know that person has developed to a certain extent mental purity. It reflects. So that's why external purity is an indicator of internal purity. But the main thing which is required is the internal purity. External purity helps us in developing that internal purity. So that's why in this you will find in the Indian tradition, even someone when taking shower, while bathing, they will be chanting some mantras. What's the idea? That with the cleansing of the body, my mind is also getting cleansed. The external purity is being reflected by the internal purity. So these practices actually speaks of the need for the external cleanliness, because it do help us to maintain that internal purification, the purification of the mind. Santosha, contentment. Contentment is a quality which is very important in spiritual life. Unless I'm content, always I'm wanting, you will find that sometimes unnecessarily we go on adding up things in our house. In our house, if we really have to clean up the house, we find there are so many things we don't want. We just go on piling up. I want this, I want that. And this speaks of the restlessness of our mind. I'm never happy with what I have. Constantly I want to add up my wants. As there's a very nice saying of Mahatma Gandhi, that the world has sufficient resource for our needs, but it doesn't have the sufficient resource for our wants. All the global warming, everything is because of our want, extreme greed and want. So if we are satisfied with the needs, that when I was in India, I found in a school, in the school, there's a habit of writing in a board the thought of the day. Just the moment you enter the school, in a very prime location, there is a board, display board, where every day some message will be written. So one day, when I was entering the school, I saw the message. What's the message written there? Very nice message. That the needs are seeds and wants are weeds. Needs are seeds, so that you have to grow, and wants are weeds. That has to be, you have to weed them out. So Santosha speaks of keeping our wants, keeping our all the things, the yearnings for the external thing, just fixed to the needs. We should be always aware that we just are not get too much greedy about the wants. So there's a very nice Sanskrit sloka. The sloka exactly, I don't remember. The idea is a wonderful thing. What's that? That the king, that how the shoe was discovered. That's that the poem says that how the shoe was discovered, that a king found that it is so difficult to walk barefoot because the ground has the stones and pebbles, he gets hurt. So one day he called his minister and ordered him that my entire kingdom, you cover the entire kingdom with leather, so that wherever I walk, I shouldn't get hurt. And the wise minister told, why to just cover the entire kingdom with leather? Why not just cover your own feet with the leather? And that's how the shoe was discovered. So that's this poem actually indicates santosha, that there is no end to our wants. If we go on, if we stretch our hands and just try to acquire things, there's no end to it. If I'm satisfied with what I need, then you will find there is that incessant craving has stopped. That once the incessant craving has stopped, that speaks of the tranquility of the mind. I don't go on just simply wanting things. Mind is tranquil with what I want. Swadhyaya, the next characteristics. These all characteristics are wonderful, means it has layers of understanding. The Swadhyaya generally means self-study. It means self-study. It means the study of the scriptures. But the Swadhyaya, real Swadhyaya means not only study of the scripture, it speaks of the repetition of the mantras. The repetition of the mantras also is called swadhyaya. So in a spiritual life, those who have developed the habit of focusing their mind by repeating the mantras. The mantras are what? Mantras are mananath trayate iti mantra. That when you go on cogitating upon them, it liberates you. That is mantra. Mananath trayate iti mantra. Means sublime ideas are all encoded in that. So when you repeat that, the meaning as if manifests. It manifests, the meaning manifests. And then when you are constantly meditating on that meaning with an intellectual affirmation, that leads you to the spiritual evolution. And that's being indicated by the term swadhyaya. Tapa. The word tapa means, actually literal meaning is heat. How heat is generated? By friction. Whenever one body is moving about the other body, because of the friction, the heat is generated. So what it speaks of, that though there is an opposition force in the form of friction, still I am trying to overcome the friction by moving forward. The friction actually speaks of not allowing me to move. It is restricting me to move. I work against that, and I just go forward by working against the friction, and in the process, the heat is generated. So the word tapa means, actually, though it means heat, but it actually indicates what? When you are working against the tamas, that we have a lot of inertia, that if for my self-evolution, the lot of self-effort is required in my life to get established in our, what you say, in a secular life, or to progress in spiritual life, we will find the greatest hindrance is the tamas, the lot of inertia, laziness. So to work against that, that speaks of tapa. So we are just, as there are many qualities spoken of, we are not taking in details, but it will give the indication that what all practices are really required to develop more and more sattvic qualities in life. So tapa speaks to working against the inertia to develop more and more sattvic qualities in life. What is Ishvara Pranidhana? Ishvara Pranidhana speaks of devotion to God. So in each and every moment of life, to feel the presence of the divine, to always, in whatever I am doing, I always feel the presence of divine, as if the divine is with me, guiding me in all my activities. So that speaks of Ishvara Pranidhana. So these are the niyama, these are the observances. Yama speaks of restriction, ahimsa, I won't kill. Satya, I won't speak the untruth. Asteya, I won't steal. So something I am not practicing something. There are some evil tendencies in me, negativities in me. I'm trying to restrict myself. I'm trying to constantly restrict myself from all those negativities. So that is yama. And niyama is, I'm practicing something positive. Cleanliness, contentment, repetition of the mantras, self-effort, and devotion to God. So these are the niyamas which has been spoken of. And then Shankaracharya is enunciating Shraddha, Bhakti, and Mumukshuta. Now, these three things. What is Shraddha? As we were saying, faith in the words of the scriptures and faith in the words of the Guru, of the spiritual teacher. What it speaks of, or this faith, does it mean something blind faith? No. It is that when I am reading the scriptures, or when I am hearing the words of the scripture from the Guru, from the spiritual teacher, doubts may arise. It's very obvious. At the very beginning, I may not understand the words of the scriptures or the words of the Guru. Doubts may arise, but I have the sufficient humility. What's the humility? That my Guru is a realized soul. He has studied the scriptures, not only studied. By studying, he has internalized all the practices which has been spoken of in the scriptures, and that has taken him to the realization. And he is after coming down from his realization, what he's speaking is good for me. Maybe I don't understand it properly now, but if I go on cogitating upon the words of the Guru with faith, a time will come when my doubts will be cleared, when all the so-called misapprehensions will be cleared off, and I will develop an intellectual conviction of what has been spoken of in the scriptures. Just to give it, let us forget about the scriptures. Even in our so-called academic education, in the schools, in the colleges, unless we have Shraddha, we can never have any sort of academic education. It's impossible. So even, just say, even in school, we have heard that energy and matter are interconvertible, that Einstein has proven it by that equation E is equal to mc square. And now as primary school students say, you just show me how E is equal to mc square. Prove it to me. Unless you can show it to me, I won't believe. Can you ever educate that child? It's impossible. The teacher will say, it's impossible for me to show how E is equal to mc square at this level. When you go to the university level, you have sufficient knowledge, then I can derive it for you. Not now. Now you have to take it as an aphorism, and taking it as an aphorism, you have to progress in your studies. And then when you have sufficient knowledge, when you have in the university, you have that base, the fundamental base to understand the derivation of it, then I can explain to you. So here also the same thing. When the teacher speaks the spiritual truth, everything may not be clear to me. But instead of saying that it is all nonsense, if I say it's nonsense, my journey stops there itself. Shraddha means to have faith in the word, that just the way I know that Einstein, Newton, they are all authentic person. They have discovered something, and that's what they're speaking of. If I don't have the faith in the authenticity of the spiritual teacher, there cannot be any growth. It's the same way I have to have, that though what he says I don't understand clearly, but let me have faith and let me try to grow through my spiritual practices. A time will come when I will find my ideas are getting more and more clear. So that's why in our scripture speaks of Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Sravana means hear the spiritual truths from the teacher. And then with Shraddha, unless you have Shraddha, you won't be doing Manana. At the very inception, you will be rejecting it. Manana means now mentally cogitate upon it, that what he has told must be true. It is my lack of understanding, my lack of experience that doesn't allow me to understand what has been spoken. So I go on cogitating upon it, meditating upon it. And then gradually my mind becomes, those ideas become clear, and I develop an intellectual conviction. But that's not enough. I have to now meditate on that intellectual conviction. That is Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is the meditation on the intellectual conviction till it takes you to the realization. Realization alone is knowledge. So Shraddha, now you will understand how important it is in our spiritual life. Without Shraddha, I can never progress in spiritual life. I have to start my journey with that faith in the words of the spiritual teacher, knowing him to be an authentic person, that he has led that life. For me, it is very difficult to relate to that truth at present. But with my faith, if I go on in my journey, I will surely, a day will come when I will realize the words which has been spoken by him are true. So that's the Shraddha. This is faith in the words of Guru, faith in the words of the teacher, and the scripture. Just the way when I go to the doctor, it's the same thing. When I go to the doctor prescribes me something. He of course, he will be explaining me to a certain extent that why he is giving such and such medication, why he's restricting my diet, and all the things he will explain. But still, I will find it is not possible for me to understand everything, because the doctor has studied the medical course for years together, at last to become a doctor. What he has done, the medical science is authentic, it's based on research, and this doctor has studied it, and after studying, he has become a doctor. So whatever prescription he's giving is authentic. So even if I don't understand at how it works, I simply take my medicine as per the prescription. That speaks of Shraddha. I have the faith in the doctor. Why I have faith? Because he is an authentic person. He has studied the scriptures of medical science. He has studied it. He has become an adept practitioner, and now I have faith in him as well as with faith in the medical science. And then only I can be cured. Similarly, to get cured from this bhavaroga, from the disease of worldliness, I have to have faith in the bhavaroga vaidya, that's the guru, the practitioner of this, what you say, this, a medical, it is a medical, spiritual medical science. He can help me to get rid of the disease called worldliness. Bhavaroga vaidya. He is a physician. So unless I have the faith in this guru, how can I get rid of it? I won't start my journey at all. So that's the what the Shraddha, the word Shraddha means faith in the words of the spiritual teacher. Bhakti is devotion. Only when I have faith and I start practicing as has been prescribed by the guru, then only I can have devotion. Because at the beginning, as per the scriptural knowledge, what he has instructed me, must just say a simple thing. The guru has told that always think yourself as the self. I may not have a very clear understanding, but with Shraddha, what the guru has said, that I start doing. I go on meditating whenever I get time on that idea that I am the self. Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. Now, how bhakti develops? At the beginning, you are repeating it out of resolution, mental resolution. You have using your willpower. That guru has told me, I have faith in his word, let me repeat it. So when you're repeating it, at the beginning, it speaks of resolution. Most probably you have developed no love for it. But as in the modern psychology, they say that what you do again and again, it as if creates a path in your mind. That speaks of the neuroplasticity, as if a path is created. And once the path is created, you forget the necessity. You just like to do it. The mind like to traverse the path which has been created. Even there is no need for any purpose. You'll find all our obsessions develop that way. All our obsessions develop that way. And that's how the bhakti develops. Only when you have Shraddha in the words of the guru, and with Shraddha, you start practicing as has been prescribed by the guru and the scriptures, then in time, your resolution gets converted into devotion. So that's how the bhakti has been spoken of. And what the last thing, not the last thing, in this triad, this bhakti, Shraddha, and mumukshuta. The mumukshuta, what it speaks of? Yearning. Yearning to realize the spiritual truth which has been spoken of. So this yearning is the guiding force of Shraddha and Bhakti. Unless I have a yearning, like just like a patient, the patient has the yearning to get rid of the disease. Then only he will go to the doctor. Then the question of Shraddha comes. Then the question of devotion, that to have the medicine as per the doctor's prescription. All those things comes later. But first comes the yearning, that I have to get cured from the disease. So this mumukshuta is the guiding force for the Shraddha and the Bhakti. That unless I have the yearning, I have developed that yearning to be liberated from these shackles of worldliness, there cannot be any Shraddha and Bhakti. So the mumukshuta is the yearning. The more intense is our yearning, the more near is the goal for us. The more accelerated is our spiritual journey. So that as in our spiritual life, there is in our academic course, there is a duration for medical, say 4 years, 7 years, whatever it may be. Engineering, 4 years. Now someone may ask that in spiritual life, what's the duration? That the guru has asked me to practice something, and he told you go on practicing, it will take you to some realization. When I'm going to get the realization? So there's no fixed time here again. So in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there is a sutra, Tivra Sangveganam Asanna. The more intense is your yearning, the more accelerated is your journey, the more quickly you reach the goal. So as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, that yearning is just like the red hue of the dawn. In the morning, the sun is yet to be visible, but you see the red hue in the sky. And you know, in another 5 minutes, I will see the sun. It will be visible. So yearning is like that red hue. Once it's there, you know it for certain, the realization is near at hand. As Shankaracharya used to say, it is just like Karatala Amulakavat. It is just as palpable as a fruit in your hand. If the yearning is there, realization is as palpable as a fruit in your hand. You can get it immediately. So that has been spoken of as one of the qualities. And then the last thing of all this collection is the Daivi Sampatti. It actually consists of 26 qualities, which has been described in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita from the first to the third verse. So we will read those three verses to find out what are those 26 qualities which has been included in the Misra Sattva. That's the mixed Sattva. Sattva mixed with Rajas. What are them? What are they? Abhayam, Sattva Samsuddhir, Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti, Danang Damascha Yagyascha, Swadhyaya Stapa Arjavam, Ahimsa, Satyam, Akrodhas, Tyaga, Shantir, Apaishunam, Daya, Bhuteshwalaulutvam, Mardhavam, Rira Chapalam, Teja Kshama Dhriti Shaucham, Adroha, Natimanita, Bhavanti Sampadam Daiving, Abhijatasya Bharata. So in these three slokas, these 26 qualities has been spoken of. So what are they? First is Abhayam, fearlessness. Without fearlessness, I can never practice truthfulness. Abhayam is very important. Why? That in our life, is small child, in the last class we were indicating, you ask a small child, you'll find it's very interesting. Any small child who has started understanding your language, you say you are a bad boy, immediately he will react. He will say, no, I'm good. Just never, you will find all the child gets terribly angry, he's annoyed if you say he's a bad boy. He's a good boy. So there is some innate, within us, some innate qualities, innate yearning is there, that I have to be good. But why, as we grow, we start compromising with the truth? It is because we lack this courage. The fearlessness is not there. To give a common example, when a river is coming down from the mountain, you will find the river never follows a straight path. It's not always true. There are some rivers which follows a straight path. If you see the Amazon River, it follows a straight path. Why? Because it has a tremendous force. Whatever comes in its way, it simply washes it off. It has a tremendous force. So even after it doesn't, this Amazon has no delta, the river, because it has such a tremendous force that even when it has merged with the ocean, its path is visible for meters together. You can see that because the water has tremendous force. But generally, other rivers, you will find the path is crooked. It never goes in a straight line. Why? Because when the water doesn't have a sufficient force, it has a natural tendency to follow the path of least resistance. If it's a rocky terrain, it will turn towards the soft soil. And that's how its course gets curved. So the same thing happens with our practice of truth. As we start growing, when we find there is a lot of opposition in the practice of truth, we start compromising. So that's why we always say that don't say that truthfulness cannot be practiced. Be humble enough to say, I don't have the sufficient courage to practice the truth. But it can be practiced. There are some person who have that sufficient courage to always adhere to the truth. They never take the deviation from the truth. So here we'll find the truth, for truthfulness, this abhayam is the first quality which is required. And that has been enunciated as the very first Daivi Sampatti. Then then you will find, naturally, if you are fearless, then only Sattva Samsuddhi, the purity of mind, can be ensured. Otherwise, constantly we will be compromising with the truth. So Sattva Samsuddhi speaks of the purity of the mind. And then Jnana Yoga Vyavasthita. The steadfastness in spiritual knowledge follows only after the purity of the mind. Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti. If a mind is not pure, how can I be steadfast in my spiritual knowledge? Because I am supposed to always contemplate on the fact that I am the self. And if my mind is deviated, is constantly distracted, it is thinking thousands of things. Because why? I am not established in truth. If you are not established in truth, your mind is bound to be restless. Why? The moment we resort to untruth, falsehood, our mind is bound to be restless. Why? Because falsehood can never stand on its own feet. It always needs a prop. If I speak something which is false, to substantiate that, I will have to just create another falsehood. You'll find it happens. Once you speak a lie, and to now prove that the way your lie is true, you have to just invent another falsehood. So that way, falsehood always has to stand on another falsehood. And it's full of worries. You have to remember what you have told. Truth, you don't have to remember. Falsehood, you have to remember, because the next time it's again, you'll find in the police station, that's the thing as it happens, that you go on asking the same thing again and again, again and again. Because if you are not speaking the truth, the chances are there, your next, when you are asked the same thing again, there will be deviation of what you have told at the first time. So just see, falsehood speaks of a lot of worries. I may be caught. What I have told, I have to substantiate with some other falsehood. I always have to remember what I have told. This speaks of worries, a lot of tensions. I can never keep my mind in peace. Then how can it think of spiritual practices? To think that I am always steadfast in my spiritual is impossible. Even in the Bible, we find that Jesus is saying a very interesting thing, that if you have to offer something in the altar of the divine, first go and resolve your fight with your brother. If you have some fight with your brother, your mind is disturbed, the God is not going to accept what you're going to offer in the altar. It speaks of the same thing, that unless your mind is pure, how can you be steadfast in your spiritual knowledge? So first it has to be calm. It has to be tranquil. All the distractions has to fall off. Then only it can be steadfast in the spiritual contemplation. That has been spoken of as Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti. Dhanam, charity, that comes next. It's a very important thing. Just to get rid of ego. Dana is the thing. Dana is, I will just to how it gives a tremendous joy, placidity. In this life, you know that only the thing that gives us joy is when we find some scope to give something. I will give an example. When I was for some time in the welfare section in Belur Math. And every day, these poor people will come for pecuniary help, some small help. 50 rupees, $50, means not $50, Indian currency, 50 rupees. They will be just pestering for that. And now the Swami, who was in charge of that section, he told me an interesting thing. Just observe a thing. What's the thing you have to observe? That when they ask for some pecuniary help, for some money, you ask the reason why they want. You will find in 99% of the case, they never say, I am hungry. I don't have money to eat. I don't have money to buy my clothes. They'll never say. They will say, I cannot buy clothes for my children, for my grandchildren, for my siblings, whatever it may be, but never for himself. What it speaks of, that when you cannot give, you suffer. In this life, all the suffering is when you cannot give. By giving, what is happening, their ego is getting diffused, and the more the self finds expression, and that results in joy. I found that in our residential school, for any public celebration, we generally try to involve the students for volunteer activities like distributing the food to all the people who come to attend the celebration. And whenever we prepare the duty list, these are the students who have to go and serve the food to all. Now, it's a quite tedious job. We will find a lot of resistance. They don't want. But we sometimes insist, go on insisting. No, that's the thing you have to do. It's a thing which is good for you. You have to do. But because of insistence, sometimes though unwilling, they start. Unwillingly they start, but we knew that as it is a very, very tedious job, what we used to do is to say that it's only for 1 hour you have to do, and then the volunteers will take the charge of it. You do it for 1 hour, we have other volunteers, they will come take charge of it. Now, they were unwilling to do it at the beginning. Now, after 1 hour, the volunteers, those who are supposed to take charge, they come and say the students are not living, that they want to continue. What it speaks of, that there's a joy. The moment you're giving something, a joy emanates. That's why sometimes in India we used to say that if you have to donate something to the poor, it is you who are donating, but please, what you say, you just do it through your children. Give the money to your child and let him give, so that he will experience a joy, and that will help him to spontaneously develop that capacity of altruism. It will develop. By saying, we can never help him develop. By this act, so in this life, there are so many things we go after. There's a big, big paradox. We are constantly running after the joys of life we don't get. We think by self-seeking we will get joy, we never get. And accidentally sometimes, most probably we had no such intention. We give something and we experience tremendous joy. That's the fact of life. That's the Maya. There's a tremendous joy in giving, because the self finds a scope for expression. The ego is diffused. So that's the quality which has been enunciated as dhanam. Dhamma, control of the senses. That, of course, needs no explanation. That need not be explained. That we all understand that unless the senses are controlled, we can never think of progressing in spiritual life. Why to speak of spiritual life? Even in our day-to-day life, unless we develop the capacity to delay our gratification, it makes us short-sighted. We will be going for the immediate pleasures of life. We never see what's waiting for us in the distance. The famous marshmallow experiment speaks of that. That when you give the child one marshmallow and is about to eat it, and you say, wait, I'm going out for 10 minutes. If you don't eat this, I'm going to give you the second one. And you will find, though the children know that they're going to second one, if you're waiting for some time, most of them cannot wait. They take it. What? They cannot resist the greed for that, the marshmallow. Invariably, they know that if I wait for 10 minutes, I'm going to the second one. What it speaks of, that most of us are very short-sighted. We're not capable of seeing what's waiting for us in future. So all renunciation is not negative. Renunciation is something positive. That I am renouncing something small to get something big. So there's a nice way of saying that some person went to a renunciate, a monk, and told, oh, you are great. Well, what makes you feel that I'm great? Oh, you have renounced. And then the monk replied something wonderful. It is not I who have renounced. It is you who have renounced. I have renounced something trivial for really something precious. And you have renounced something precious for something trivial. So whose renunciation is great? It is your renunciation is great. So that's the idea, that of control of the senses. That if I cannot stop the turbulent senses and keep my mind focused on the spiritual goal, how can I attain that? I will get distracted. It is just like that putting the, what you say, there's a horse under the reins. If you cannot hold the reins of the horse tightly, the horse will take you astray, that will take you out of the road, and you will be just lost. You will go astray. So Dhamma speaks of holding the rein in tight hands with your buddhi, with your resolution. You have to hold it tightly. That speaks of Dhamma. And then yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. Sacrifice doesn't literally mean the fire sacrifice. Sacrifice, you have this yajna means, to understand the word yajna, you have to understand, you have to just relate to the sloka in Bhagavad Gita, which speaks of saha yajna praja srishtva puravacha prajapati. When the creation, Prajapati, the Brahma created this world, he created it along with yajna. What it speaks of? It speaks of altruism. It speaks of interbeing. It speaks of synergy. It speaks of win-win situation. That unless we understand in this world, that unless we are cooperating with each other, we are trying to help out each other, we cannot exist. Our existence, we will be at peril. Our existence will be at peril. That wherever there is a synergy, there is growth. Yeah, that's Darwin's theory was understood wrongly. What previously they used to think that the struggle for existence, survival of the fittest means only competition. And now they have started saying interesting thing, that yes, competition, but it's not competition among the individuals. A particular species who cooperate amongst each other, they have the chance to cope up with the nature in a much better way than those who are not cooperating with each other. Just to give a very common example, they say the Neanderthals, that's another the subspecies of the humans, they have become extinct. But it has been found through research their brain was bigger than the humans. They were more intelligent. They developed more skills than the so-called the present humans. Then why they became extinct? So now you'll find there are a lot of research. They say that they never developed the capacity of cooperating with each other. Just to cooperate with each other, that capacity they never had. These humans, Homo sapiens, because of this tremendous capacity of cooperation, they survived, and they, in spite of the fact that they were more evolved, more intelligent, they became extinct. So yajna speaks of this interbeing, of this idea of cooperation, of this idea of synergy. So the more we have developed the capacity, the more we evolve, both spiritually as well as our secular life is concerned. So this yajna. And then comes swadhyaya, the study of the sacred books, tapa, austerity, arjavam, straightforwardness is the same as abhayam. That unless you are fearless, you cannot be straightforward. They're all so much related. These are the qualities which we are not describing elaborately, because already we described ahimsa, non-violence. It is one of the yama. Satyam, truthfulness. It has also been spoken of as one of the yamas, the practicing of truthfulness. Akrodha, absence of anger. Tyaga, renunciation. Just now we were saying when we are speaking of control of the senses. Shanti. When you have practiced all these things, then you can think of that peacefulness, shanti. Apaishunam, restraint from fault finding. When you find fault with others, I'm polluting my mind. Nothing else I'm doing. Constantly, I am seeing the fault in others. In the process, I'm culturing only the negativities. And that way I can never purify my mind. So fault finding, daya speaks of compassion. Bhuteshu alarutvam, absence of covetousness towards all beings. That's it is somehow similar to that the practice of aparigraha, this bhuteshu alarutvam. I don't accept anything from others. Mardavam speaks of gentleness. Modesty. Achapalam, lack of fickleness. Teja speaks of the vigor, that unless you are vigorous, that you have the tremendous yearning, the vigor cannot come. The vigor comes from that yearning. So Teja, Kshama, forgiveness. If I'm constantly harboring anger towards others, My enemy that doesn't get anyway hurt because of the anger which I have towards him. It starts harming me. I start developing blood pressure and all other physical and mental ailments because of harboring all those negativities. So once you forgive, you are at peace with yourself. But if I cannot forgive, in the name of trying to be vengeful, to develop some vengeance towards the enemy, I am actually harming myself. Kshama speaks of peacefulness. Once you forgive, you are at peace with yourself. Dhriti, fortitude, that I never waver from the practices which I have, that started in my spiritual journey. I have taken a resolution that I will continue. I never deviate from that. That speaks of this dhriti, the fortitude. Shaucham, again the repetition, the cleanliness. Adroha, means bearing enmity towards none. So it again speaks of this, your compassion. It speaks of forgiveness. And last is na atimanita, absence of vanity. So that speaks of dissolving your ego. So these all qualities are wonderful qualities which we find has been enunciated in all the spiritual traditions. And these are the things which Shankaracharya is enlisting as Mishra Sattva. Once I have practiced all these qualities, this will enable me to develop that Vishuddha Sattva, the pure Sattva, where now I've entered into a state of flow. Effort is not required. That Sattva has become the habitual state of my existence. That has become my being. I have converted myself into a person who is always sattvic. It is something habitual, spontaneous. So that's the state of pure sattva, which will be spoken of in the next verse, the 119th verse. How it manifests, what are the various qualities, the various traits which we find expressed through a person who is established in pure sattva. That will be described in the 119th verse, which we will take up again in the next class. So with this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskar.